What is up, guys, and welcome back to the Sweat It Out podcast.
If you want to be successful, look inside.
We don't like sitting in the discomfort.
Then all of a sudden that day came when I got $20 and 2 free drinks to do a show, and I was like, oh shit, here we go, baby. You know?
Thank God she hasn't caught a chicken yet, because she'll tear her head off.
Don't be soft.
That patience is key.
If all my friends are winning, then it's going to make me want to win more.
What is up, guys, and welcome back to the Sweat It Out podcast. Today we have a very special guest all the way in the beautiful place of San Diego. He is a medical freedom activist, 20 years experience in performance and healing, and he's also the author of A Survival Guide for Life. Guys, please help us welcome the one and only Dr. Tommy John. How's it going, brother?
Excellent. Thanks for having me, gentlemen.
No, thank you for coming on. And I know in San Diego it's beautiful out there, like we mentioned before the podcast, so I'm sure you're enjoying it and having a good time.
Yeah, of course. Every morning, naked on the beach. No shit.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's the way to live it up, right?
That's it, man. Come on. That's why I moved out here. Everyone's like, must be nice. I'm like, you're damn right it's nice. That's why I moved out here.
Get yourself out there, ground yourself naked, and just soak it all in.
That's it.
I feel like we get the same thing in Miami. I'm like, you have a choice. Like, you don't have to live in gloomy Manhattan. Like, you can
pick your life, man.
So where were you living before that made you that transitioned you to San Diego?
A place called Satan's Butthole, northern Illinois, northern Chicago, Illinois.
Cold,
it's basically
man.
Pluto, like inhabitable.
Satan's bottle. I never
Uninhabitable.
That's hilarious. Oh man. So brother, first of all, once again, thank you for coming on. And we've obviously seen, I've seen some of your stuff. Josh has been seeing some of your stuff, some of the things that you're doing in your practice. I would love to dive in on that a little bit. Kind of let us know how you started and what was your reason and philosophy behind everything you're doing.
Well, I was an athlete growing up. We were active kids. We played everything. We were night games. We were hide and go seek. We were ball tagging in the basement. Just everything was a game, active. And then I got into really specializing into baseball. My love was baseball, though I was really good at basketball as well. And my senior year, I reduced down to one sport, which crushed me because you didn't do that then. There was none of that shit. And I knew that I had to commit to a year at this stage of my game because I was developed enough to go play college. And so I did, got a scholarship, went to Furman University, played there 4 years, got a master's in my 5th year. After my freshman year, though, I was pitching in a summer league right before the Cape Cod League called me to have me out there, which was a dream come true. But I had an achy, sore shoulder, like not even mentionable, but I was just touching it and just moving. And the coach goes, let's just be proactive. Check this out. Get an MRI. They inject into your socket. Dye gets infected. My whole shoulder starts to rot away just to survive, which is pretty awesome that my body rots my shoulder to save my life. It's pretty cool, actually. Not cool if you're a pitcher, though. And so 2 surgeries later, 1 to save my life, flush it out, 2 to tighten everything back up. And I never was the same as I was when I was at that stage of the game. And I played 2 years of professional baseball, came back enough to play 2 years, but still wasn't what I was. But during that time became obsessed with the body, obsessed with how it heals, looked in PT offices and would just observe what everyone was doing. I was just obsessed with how everyone was different. And so after I retired from baseball, I got into sports performance and healing. And there were 3 of us, John McNulty, Vladimir Traguz, and myself. And we started pulling away injuries and pulling back injuries to healing at the source in ways I'd never seen. We weren't doing icing. We were not stretching. There was no passive treatments. There was no drugs. It was massively active. We were getting rid of crutches. There was no tape. There was none of this bullshit that I knew of that I was grown up with. I'm like, wait, this is rehab. So we pulled the curtain back behind every injury. And it turned out people who came in with soft tissue injuries are expressing symptoms. When they did it right, they healed and surpassed the functional level of pro athletes or college or people not injured. So then I started putting it together. Well, if we all prepare and train and condition and rewire and empower and believe as if we were injured, we should go higher up than we ever were. And that's over the course of 20 years what I started to see. And it was honestly, guys, asking people when they come into my office or they came into our facility what they did to help them heal. And if you ask enough questions, you start to see clues. Success leaves clues, but so does failure. And you saw a lot of things we're doing that didn't put them in positions to heal. So honestly, we just did the opposite. And it turned out the opposite was actually the way it's been since the dawn of mankind, but we just reshaped it to have this soft tissue pain management industry where everyone's making billions of dollars of bullshit. So that's where I'm at, 21 years in, still a student, still surprised every single day. I know nothing. So the DR in front of my name doesn't really mean anything. I'm just like everybody else. I follow their breadcrumbs and try to empower and help them realize that they can regenerate and heal from anything that they've been named or encountered.
Absolutely incredible. I mean, I think it goes to show just how, much of an expert you really are, because you said the words, I don't know anything, right? So hard for
Right.
so hard for most people to say. Usually when I hear those words come out of someone's mouth, I'm like, okay, they're probably a lot smarter than they're letting on, to be. And
Totally.
I want to dive into one thing in particular. You said I would assume, what has made you who you are today, right? Is early onset specialization, right?
Oh,
and,
God.
And how much, I mean, we're going to jump right into it because I think it's so important for, anyone who's listening, who's a parent of a young athlete, right? Do not specialize your kid. My sister is 9 years younger than me. Luckily, she had me and her father around because we told her, like, listen, you're going to play about 10 different sports as a kid, right? And then eventually, when you're old enough to, make your own decisions, you can decide whether or not you're going to, specialize in basketball or softball or whatever, right? What is early onset specialization and what is really so problematic with it?
Well, we tried to, it's like the more is better. It's that whole 10,000 reps to become a master bullshit. And you guys remember that, right? It's like, then everyone's just like, okay, if I get my kid 1,000 reps, they'll be a master. Well, then there was fault in that whole observation because I pulled that same thing. My mom said she would give me a penny for every time I served a tennis ball. What's the problem with that logic? She never said I had to serve it well and I had to serve it in and I had to do it like with rules. I just serve, ball, and just cashed in. She's like, wait, you're serving this many balls? And she came and watched and I sucked. I was all over the place. And she's like, oh no, you have to get it in. You have to do it appropriately. So that's where we've got the earlier you can specialize, the better you're going to be. And that's true. You will be very good early, but you will not sustain late. And so that's the thing. If you want an 8, 9, 10, 11-year-old really good, as far as good as that person can be, go right ahead. But there is no way to sustain that because that's not how the body prepares and develops. So specializing is picking a sport. Not that you can't love one sport, because I loved baseball when it was baseball season. And I loved two-hand touch football when it was football season. I loved basketball when it was basketball. But truly, I loved baseball. I couldn't wait for baseball season. But it's the all-round year. If you think about it, it's like the skill of the sport of baseball or soccer or whatever is on the top of the pyramid. We spend so much time on the top of the pyramid, we forget that there's like a huge two levels down foundation. And if you think about it, that those foundations from womb to like 10 or 11 is the foundation for everything we're going to do. I know they say 0 to 7. I'll even extend it out, right? So everything that we're going to do in life is predicated on that foundation built from 0 womb to 11 years old. To put it lightly, everyone's like, oh, so they should be moving and training. Kids should be playing. Free play should be the number one sport that these kids are participating in for like the first 9 years of their life. The Serbian neuroscientist said a 6-year-old is supposed to move the equivalent of 6 miles a day. 6 freaking miles a day at 6 years old. That should put into perspective that 3 days with a private coach, or now they got kids doing yoga and shit. It's like, wait, what are you talking about? Just stick them outside. You don't have to do anything. Just let them go.
Video games too.
Now think about this, guys. What does that put in perspective for us? If a 6-year-old is supposed to move the equivalent of 6 miles, we need massive amounts of movement. Everyone's like, oh yeah, my kid is a little chunky, I guess he should move more. It's like, no, it's for brain development. It's for like reflexes. It's for like swallowing and speaking and being able to focus and concentrate and read and comprehend. We got kids falling out of their chairs now because they don't have development to sit upright. Do you know what I mean? They're just like falling out of chairs. And it's like, we have this whole thing geared around making kids great early, when that's just, they are great early because they're kids.
I love that.
You know, like they're a miracle. Like if you just watch them, they're miraculous. Dude, I was sitting at a pizza joint right down the road, and I was waiting for my pizza, and there's a book of like lateral thinking riddles. And so I'm reading this book, and I'm watching these 2 kids, and these 2 kids had to be 10, and they're jumping off the 5th step, and they're just leaping, boom, sticking, depth drops. Who's programming them? Nobody. These kids were just going and jumping. And I'm watching. I'm like, oh my God, this is so magnificently brilliant. And then the manager comes over and asks them to stop. They're like, okay. They wait till he leaves. They continue. Like their innate knows to just keep going. And then their parents came over, and it was like, but they must have done like 35 depth drops at 5 steps up, challenging the system only because they knew this. Again, these kids were just given a stare. If you just set them into a field with a rock, a big boulder in the middle of the field, they'll figure out 12 different ways to come up with a game with that boulder, you know? And so we've lost that art. We've lost those principles of what it's like to develop. And here's the scary part, guys. I want to leave it with this. According to people a lot smarter than me, and in the field a lot longer than me, worldwide, if we miss this growth, this foundational growth period of womb to like 11, is there any making it up? Like, can we make it up later?
No way.
And they will say no. They'll say no, it's not possible. Now, I think anything's possible, but I will say it's damn hard because at 12 on, there's already the life challenges that we're going to experience that we have to go through, in addition to undoing the shitstorm that we were already, oh my God. And so that's one of those things. I don't want people to be afraid, you know, be upset, be like, shit, I'm already 9 years in. Did I mess up? Don't worry about it, but just realize like, damn, okay, I'm behind the 8 ball now. I got to make some changes right friggin' now and do the best we can. And that's all we can do is the best we can.
I absolutely love that. And what they go on and say something that the most important developmental phases of a child is from being born to 11, right? I think that's usually where it's like the most impactful.
I like that. Yeah.
Right. So it's so true. And going back to the point of talking about specialization, I feel like most parents, the problem they're having is that they want to relive their dream that they could never achieve through their child, right?
Oh, yeah.
Putting them in a sport that dad or mom said, well, you know, I couldn't achieve playing football, but my son can because he's taller, he's stronger, so he's going to play football and he's going to relive the dream that I want for him because that's the dream I never accomplished. And it's funny because, like, I feel like most parents, they're not doing it because they feel like they're doing it on purpose, and they're not trying to be a bad person and they're not coming in a bad place, but it's just it's coming from that rooted problem that they've been carrying on, and now it's passing on to their children. And then you see the children, some of them do end up becoming really great at that sport, and then they fall out later because it wasn't what they really wanted to do. You know, it wasn't what they wanted to play. You know, not allowing them to try out many different sports or many different activities to actually see which is the one that they truly fall in love with. But yeah, I love that, you know, and I think with the whole movement, you know, you're seeing things like, obviously with technology, and look, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of great things coming from tech, but there's also things like, you know, slowing kids down, slowing people down. You know, you got video games and you got all this stuff where, you know, it's keeping you inside at home, not being outside, not letting you move. And there definitely are, you know, a lot of issues coming out of that.
I agree. And that's one of the biggest things with screens. the sympathetic response of the nervous system. Just staring. I mean, you guys right now, us three right here, we have a fight or flight response right now. So we're not healing real well right now, but we're okay with it because we're going to put out some great material and sacrifice, and that's cool. And then we'll all go outside and do our stuff, you know. But these kids just staring at a screen, sympathetic ramps, immune down, they don't digest, they don't recover, they're not naturally growing. So it's beyond the, oh, they're sitting still, because now there's kids outside right now outside that I know their parents kicked them out, like, go outside, but they go sit at a picnic table and stare down at their phones outside. And I'm like, God dang it, man. Like, so we're missing that point, you know. And I've got families who have been so down, no smartphones till they're seniors in high school. They're like, I'll be damned. I'm the parent. I will be damned if I'm going to dwarf the development of my child. And will they receive backlash? Yeah, but you know what? The kid knows how important it is. So when they receive that stuff from their peers, they're like, I want to be intelligent. I want to be reflexive. I want to be strong. I want to go to college and do this. They have that response because they connected them with it. You know, it's pretty cool.
So where do you feel is that, like, that? I don't like, you know, that the word, there's really no balance, but where do you feel like there's that point of, like, okay, how does my child still develop, obviously, with the advancements of time, so that way they're not behind, but also understanding that with the extreme of it, or the too much of it, is going to really set them back as well, as people, as humans, as movers, the longevity game of it, with their health.
So, you know what's cool, and this is what I'm all about, and I think you guys follow, or you know, being exposed to my stuff. I'm all about empowering, like, putting it back to the person to be able to feel what's going on, because we don't feel anymore. Nobody feels anything. We can't feel feelings. Our thoughts are diseases now. Everything's got to be numb. We can't have swelling. We can't have pain. We can't have irritable. We can't have anything. We're just so across the board. So if you just, as a parent here, and anybody listening in, watch this. Create you now, though. Here's the scary part. You can't ask your child to go be this active, healthy, nourished, resilient, empowered, and then you go sit on the couch. You know, like, they'll imitate you more than they're going to follow your orders. And that's the truth of it. Everyone's like the mother reading the book on the train with the daughter reading the book, and the mother and daughter next to them with smartphones go, how'd you get her to do that? The daughter's just doing exactly what the mom's doing, you know, and that's all. They just parrot and imitate and watch. They're watching your every move. So you have to start with you first. Okay, what a great time to change. Let's do it. Then everybody together will start doing this, because I get this, and I know you guys get this too. You have the element of this technology to connect with people, to learn. There's certain aspects of learning, but we have to exercise some discipline. When you start connecting with what the body loves and you introduce what it doesn't, what'll happen? You'll see your kids switch. You will feel a switch where you're irritable. Your face is like, duh. Like, instead of taking something to hide that, listen to that response and go, holy shit. I just read like one article and my eyes twitching, and I feel like, yeah, go into that and be like, that's my limit. And then when your child's throwing a freaking tantrum, hey, after they settle down, you know, and you connect them, remember how excited you were when you came in from outside? Remember how like amplified, how awesome that was? And then you got mad at mom, or you got mad at dad. What were you doing right before you got mad at mom or dad? Like, and you lashed out at us. I was watching TikTok or whatever, right? And just keep connecting, and then they'll do the rest. They'll be like, I don't like who I am lashing out. I'll connect this. Hey, mom, I think I'm good. Because you guys remember, I don't know how old you guys are, but we had NES, Nintendo, RBI baseball, right?
I still have my NES.
Dude, it's so dope that they still exist, right? It's like one of the best gaming systems ever. But we would be inside in Jersey, and it'd be and we'd play a game, and then we'd be like, okay, we're done. And we go out and play. We self-regulated. We self-monitored. We can get back to that, but we got to start connecting the feels to our responses. And you can do it with children. They're not idiots. Yeah. They're these miraculous, amazing beings that if you just stop talking, treating them like they're these amorphous blobs that have nothing to offer the world, they're more connected to self, like to elevated spirit, than the adult, because they haven't had as much educated. Like animals, The best chiropractic, the purest chiropractic is pediatric and animals. Why? Because they don't have this, I heard you guys hurt and I heard you guys fix backs, and they just go in and respond. There's no educated, you can't upsell them, you can't bullshit them. They don't listen to the commercials. They don't even know your ad. It's just this purity of it. So if you go with it and then the family starts connecting, that's a pretty dope place, because I'll even have it. I have a live, I have a podcast, I have to send out emails, and I'm like, oh, and I got that eye headache, and you guys know, and it goes right to the back of my head. I'm like, fuck, like I can't, oh my God. And now here's the trade-off. Here's what we've gotten. Everyone will switch that feeling and like put on glasses or do something to keep you in that environment. We sacrifice those warning signs, you know, to like hack, so we can stay in that environment that the body's like, stop being in this environment. And you can do it with kids. You can definitely do it with kids.
So do you truly think that where everything's headed, do you think it's going to get better or it's going to get worse?
Much worse. Much worse. And I'm an optimist. Yeah. I'm like silver lining. I'm always looking for the lesson. But this is the lesson. We have to get worse. We have to get worse, because I asked Angela Hanscom. She's the author of Balanced and Barefoot. Brilliant woman. And she's all on board. She said, because I was seeing, do you guys know what primitive reflexes are? Like when you stroke the child's cheek and they root, you know, it's these, or galants, it's these reflexes we're born with to help us survive like the first 2-3 years of life. We're born with it. That should give you goosebumps, that we're born wired. We can hang seconds after being born. That's pretty awesome. It sounds like something we should keep going with. Okay. Well, I was noticing that there were these primitive reflexes in some of the patients I get in teenagers. They were supposed to be integrated by 2 or 3 years old, but we're wanting to say specialization in sports. That's the cause of injury or the cause of dysfunction. All this, like, wait a second. Something's happening between womb and 2 or 3 that you're not able to integrate this. What the hell? And I'm not an infant pediatric specialist. I don't know anything about kids other than just like observing them, right? So I go to the experts. Angela, what's going on from womb to 3 that would cause these kids to sustain and not integrate like they're supposed to? And she said 3 things. Wait for it. Swaddling. Swaddling's fine, but excessive swaddling. Swaddling to hold the arms and legs together so they can't, you know, so they're just not moving and not branching out. Okay. Screens, we already talked about. Screens are in front of kids, baby Einstein, all that bullshit, like screens, my God. And then seats. So it's 3 S's: screens, seats, swaddling. The seats are those like seats to sit them upright so they don't move around, so that someone can get work done. And now we got 2-income homes more now than ever. So when someone wants to come home, they have stuff to do. And it's like, baby, you got to sit still. Baby doesn't want to sit still. Baby wants to go. I sound like I'm talking about like Dirty Dancing. Nobody puts baby in the corner. No, but like the baby will be upright in this chair and they don't know how to operate upright. They're upright before they've gone through the growth process and the maturation to be able to stand upright. So we have all that going on before they get to their specialized sport at 7, 8, or 9, and then you're just piling on that error. And guys, in my opinion, you asked if it's going to get better. The youth sports industry is a $17 billion a year industry, bigger than the NFL. That's not gotten, I mean, I know with what everyone's experiencing, now everyone's just like, damn, I lost out a lot of money for my travel sport. I'm coming out of the gates, man. They're like creating programs to lock in these parents who only want the best for their kids, to lock in these kids, to get them going, to make up for that lost time of the last year or year and a half or whatever we've got. So sadly, and then the point of my thing, I asked Angela the same question you asked me. Angela, what has to happen? Because I can go shake people. I can go choke them out and be like, you need to change right now. She goes, everybody has to experience the trauma. Everybody has to see it firsthand. And so until we all go through, 60% of Tommy John surgeries are in 15-year or 16 to 19-year-olds. I mean, pediatric ACLs. Dude, a 9-year-old ACL tear. 9.
Disgusting.
Come on, right? So everybody's got to see firsthand in their home. And I don't want them to suffer, but that's how we learn as humans. That's how we change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's it's real interesting. I have a very specific question for you. In the training world, we talk about developmental patterns a lot. In these tend to be ones that like crawling, quadruped positions, half kneeling, tall kneeling, rolling, even being prone and supine on your back and on your stomach. For those who don't know what prone and supine mean, how important are those for people who aren't in fitness who might be listening to this episode? How important is it to get back to these developmental rudimentary patterns so that you can, be more successful and confident with your movement when you're standing upright?
So they were so important for us. We spent like the first year of our life doing this, and everyone's like, oh, what a dumb baby, or what a boring baby, and you watch the baby and it's just laying there, or it's just and it's like, dude, do you understand what's going on there? And I guess somebody, I don't know who put it, there were like a baby will try 30,000 attempts to take 3 successful steps. That failure, that's training. 30,000 rep schemes. Like, so when I have in my office 1,200 rep schemes to start, like 1,200, 3,600, what the fuck is, this is like not even half of a baby's like daily. And they're like, what are you talking about? So we forgot, not that we forgot, we missed that. Let's just say everybody born after 2000. Because that's a general claim. Is the internet came out in what, late 90s?
Yeah, right? my sister. We can just reference all those people as a Courtney. My sister's name's Courtney. She was born March 2000. So I always make fun. I'm like, you don't even know what Y2K is. Like you can sit in the corner.
So A Courtney. So after Courtney is the date. So,
are you listening?
Yeah, she's gonna get red in the face.
So if we can just assume now everyone born after that's like getting offended right now. No, like look at it as an opportunity to realize something and to accept, a challenge or accept new information and go seek it out. But anything after 2000, we missed that beginning massive foundational part that we should have had. And anything past 2000, the closer you get to now, it's even worse. But here's even more so. All that groundwork, all that prone, supine, all that stuff to prepare you to be upright that you knew to do, just designed, you never forget that. Your body remembers that and it loves it. And so what I've found in 20 years of this stuff with injuries is when you have an injured adult, you just have a toddler again, a functional toddler. You know what I mean? You have like an injured adult who functions as a baby. Or the adult's just so dysfunctional, that's their relative level. So let's work out as 8-year-olds. And it's not easy. Everyone's like, oh, God, I'm beyond this.
Nah, my clients fucking hate crawling. They'll tell you the number one thing that they hate doing. If I'm like, hey, get on the ground and crawl, they're like, fuck you, bro. Like, dude, I'm not doing that.
Seriously, like, no way, man. Like, it's so stimulating and difficult and challenging as it should be. And the changes that are created.
Why am I sweating so much?
I know.
Right? Like, why am I hanging from a bar 5 to 7 minutes a day? This is insane. Why am I skipping? Why am I, oh my God, standing on one leg, balancing, like, hell yeah, but let's take it to these just extreme heights. And then I just love how the body remembers, and it loves it so much, it'll give you the opportunity to go do the fun stuff. And that's why I say I do the fun stuff, but I do all this rudimentary, simplistic, challenging, gnarly, consistent, so I can go enjoy and not think twice. Do I warm up before I do hikes? Are you joking me? Do I question whether I'm going to jump off of a rock? Like, no, but just go out and live. You don't have to think twice about it, but we prepare, right? We prepare without intention, doing that simple stuff. That's the course of everything, man.
It's so funny that you bring that up. I spent some of my time here in Miami, and I spent some of my time in Puerto Rico. And when my friends come in, my girlfriend and I are very, very active when we're down there hiking, climbing, swimming, snorkeling.
Love this.
And, sometimes I'll have like some friends come down there, like, we'll already be, a quarter mile up this stream rock thing. And some of our friends who live in, big cities are like, where are you guys? We'll like look back like, yo, are you guys coming? They're like, what? I don't even know. I don't even know where like you said, I don't even know like where I would start with this. I'm like, well, I didn't really think about it. I just did it. I just before I knew it, climbed all this shit. You could do it too. You just
go.
But then I
That's the
remember
thing.
like, oh, I
If you
train
take
like
your
this
eyes
and
off-
they don't, you know?
Take your eyes off kids. Like, take your eyes, they're gone. Like, they're just gone. You know? Like, that should be how we are forever. This age thing is bullshit. Like, we should just be, oh, what's that? Go get it. Just go see what that is. Explore. Be creative and curious. Never lose that.
It's crazy because it's just like, I see one of these things where it's like we said, things are getting worse, right? So back then, like, people didn't have all this information that we know is better for us, but people were doing things that were better in the sense of being outside, not stuck in the screens all day, not on the computer, on this phone. And now we're doing more of that, yet we have more information. We know exactly how to counteract it in a much more profound way than before. Right. So it's just really interesting just to see how things are, where they're at. And then, you know, I think at the end of the day, I think it's kind of like going to be one of those things. It's as parents, where now that we have more of the information, it's really up to you how you're going to utilize it with yourself and your kids, you know, or are you going to just stay on the same track like everybody else is doing? And it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, it is sad, but I think it's like you said, again, we have to hit that trauma and let ourselves fall flat on our face to wake up one day and be like, fuck, like, this is it. Like, I need to do something, you know, like in anything in life, right? You got to allow yourself to fall down to the floor in that hole and then realize, okay, I got to get myself out of it. Here we go. You know, but it's sad to say, but at the same time, I have to agree with what you said. And I'm sorry, what was her name again? Your friend that you were speaking to, that she said the 3 S's.
Angela Hanscom, Balanced and Barefoot, fantastic book.
Yeah.
So here's parents listening in, and they're going to be overwhelmed. And if we do a search, I don't use Google anymore, but if you search and you search, you know, youth development. I mean, we can be so drunk on information. It's a double-edged sword. There's good stuff. There's bad stuff. It's just information. Here's the deal. With any parents out there and you got kids, the information is already in your child. It's already there. You don't have to access anything new. It's all there. Just let them access it. Give them the opportunity, because the specialist will never know. The DC, the ND, the DO, the MD, the scientist will never know more about what your child needs for your child than your child, or mother's intuition, or father's connection to support and protect mother and son, daughter. So that's something to, oh, wow, okay, we can do this actually, because you can literally watch and just see what they gravitate to when given the opportunity. And I promise you, setting them outside. Jeremy Frisch is a big, good friend of mine. He owns Achieve Performance. He's one of the best in youth development I've ever seen. He took out I think he rents out his old middle school he grew up in Clinton, Massachusetts, and he turned it into like this nerfed out, pads everywhere, jungle gym where the kids have for their first like 3 or 4 years, they're tumbling, they're doing diving catches, they're doing all this stuff. And then when they get movement prep and they've had years and years of movement, then they graduate to lifts and they graduate to more compound moves. But he does it very well, you know, and he even gets involved.
Yeah,
but he said that thing. He goes, you literally just set them outside. And now it's like Angela addresses this. Everyone's like, I can't let my kid walk down the street because there's more kidnappings and there's more dangers. No, there's not. We just have access to hear about the few that do happen. So it seems like there's more. But she's like, the stats show it's less dangerous now than it was in the 70s and 80s. So we can get over that. But if you are concerned, you rally 8 or 9 families in the neighborhood, designate a parent to drive them to the park because you don't want to let them walk because you established that scares you. Okay. Then set them in the park and fucking set them free. Don't be involved. Don't get involved at all. But they can't have access to phones and a distraction. Just go. And if you start to observe this, they will organize the most badass training day. They'll organize like the most, and they're being creative and they're coming from within. They're not doing it because they were told. They're doing it from within. How many reps till they're done? What intensity? At whatever intention they created by their curiosity, whatever the event is. Who's going to control? They set it out. They always ask each other, hey, how old are you? How old are you? They try to find a hierarchy. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? They'll go. Yeah. And the oldest is the ruler. And the oldest goes, okay, Here's what we're going to, I mean, they just like create these worlds by themselves. They just have to be given the opportunity. And then you as parents, shit, you guys should be on the jungle gym anyway.
Yeah. Get your ass moving with the other parents.
Yeah. Jeremy said the other thing. He's like, you know, the healthiest kids at a sports complex are? It's the brothers and sisters who tag along to the older brother or sister's game. Always. And they're off on the side and playing games. Always. You know, imagining. He's like, those kids are the ones developing, not the ones on the field. And I love that. I love that.
That's awesome. You're bringing me me back to my childhood.
I'm like, man.
Totally. Make me want to go outside now and just start playing.
My day one squad, you give us a cornfield and no parents around, we were thriving there. You know, we were gonna hike until we found like the one old abandoned tree fort that was like kind of suspect, but it was still there. I mean, my mom used to get pissed at us if we came in. Like I grew up in a single parent home. If she found out from one of our neighbors that I came home before she did, like I was going to get my ass whooped.
Oh yeah.
What?
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? She's like, listen, and you're out before the sun comes up. You're not coming home till the sun goes down. Like, I don't even want to see you.
Yeah, it was dark. It was nighttime. Like nighttime was the alarm. It was like, oh shit, it's dark. And you got pissed when the sun set because you weren't done. And then you went home, you ate real quick, and then you went downstairs. That still exists because everyone's like, oh yeah, in a perfect world. That's what the parents love to say. Like, the world is perfect. It's perfect because you just create it. It's an amazing thing. It is happening. You just have to do more work to evolve in today's de-evolution lifestyle, for sure.
I love that you brought that up. And I wanted to ask you, G, you know, this is somebody who, you know, me, myself, has a child. You know, she's 2 years old. Roughly
she's a little savage.
2 and 3 months. And it's funny awesome. Because I'm always, and I've caught myself do it at times because it's so easy to do that. But it's like even, you know, for the parents who are going through a time of working from home, all that stuff, where the easy solution is, put on the TV or put the iPad or sit them down here with whatever it is. And it's just like, you know, even at times I've caught myself doing that. I'm like, shit, Anthony, what are you doing? You know, and I've tried, you know, I'm like, you know what? How about I just like set it up where, okay, I know that I'm going to have this. I'm picking her up. Let me take her ass outside. Let her fucking play. You know, probably give her some food, and I know she's going to knock out. And then I can try to get my stuff in. So I wanted to ask you, like, what are some solutions or what are ways that parents who need to work from home right now, being the time being, have their kids and can find an alternative instead of putting the TV, putting the iPad, you know, staying down strictly, you can't move from here. What are some alternatives that they can use so that way the parent can still get what they need to get done, but their child is not going to get harmed from, you know, just being in front of a screen all day?
I think it comes down to, because everyone will ask me that same thing, like, how do you stay so grounded or healthy or positive or expressive with what we're going through? Well, my intention and my purpose, my picture that I see for myself, everything I do is either feeding that or it's toxic to that, but I'll feed it because I don't want to antagonize it. So it makes my choices, my decisions kind of simple. So if we have meaning, it doesn't mean that like challenges don't come up, but when the challenges come up, I'm just like, oh, wait, the challenge is in front of that thing down there. All right, I'm going to go do this. You know, you see the solution. So we have to have that picture first. It cannot be because the three of us said it. You truly have to buy into that the youth, your lifestyle as child, nourishment, movement, belief, exposure to the elements, challenges, grit, like all these things are so important for your child's development. Just overall as an adult, as a future parent, as a future societal, a part of this whole thing called the earth, okay? This part right now is the most important thing, way more important than your business. And you have to acknowledge that. And I don't care how much money you make. You have to set these value system. You have to assess that and check it. And when it's there, my health is number one. Well, spirituality, my health is number two, right? Like that's it. Anything else that comes in the way, I just keep going through there. Then once that happens, you'll start to figure out the action plan. You'll start to see, maybe it's a stand-up desk outside. Maybe I create an outdoor studio so that I can be outdoors while I'm doing my thing. Or maybe I work real hard for an hour, or maybe I create a mud pit or a
mud pit sounds pretty good.
Dude, like those like ropes and planks and like them being able to create, you know what I mean? And you won't have to do anything. They're so occupied with self. It's like, and they're seeing princesses and prince and kings and dragons and alien. I mean, they're literally creating their own world while you're going ahead and trying to exist in the world that you've created for yourself. So I don't really have like I'll say to people, I try to make my life as primitive as we used to be. I'm like the fundamentals and the principles and ancient ways of living. Why? Because I don't like training. So I don't like setting aside time for training. Drives me up a friggin' wall. I would rather carry my groceries, walk to the grocery store, park far, leave my knives unsharpened so that I have to work harder to cut my food and concentrate, never use a power tool, like screw things into the wall by hand, walk everywhere you've got, make my life as uncomfortable as possible, unless I'm, vegging and I'm eating or I'm lounging, then it's comfortable. But those moments, I then don't have to worry about that. So when I tell people who choose a life that's an 8 to 10 hour in an office, humans weren't designed to be in an office, but you chose this. It's your choice. Okay. Then you have to figure out how to create an alternative environment. Otherwise, you are going to devolve and you are going to end very soon. That's the reality of it, and nobody's going to sugarcoat that. So what you got to do is, can you set an alarm every hour, or can you set an alarm? So now we have an alarm every hour, 5 minutes of moves for a 10-hour day. Dude, you're a rock star at the end of a month or 3 months. So if it's that, you know what I mean? If you have an MLM, or you're selling essential oils, or you do videos, or you just have to strategically figure out how to implement real life into the life that you've chosen for an income stream or whatever. Or what I'd love is then maybe you try to figure out how to take that, because we have so much independence, like how to make it more conducive to humanity for yourself, like still making a living, still doing these things. And so I think that's the biggest thing is keeping the intention and the purpose so big, and then it just becomes dead clear as to how you're going to structure your day for your child and yourself, because you can only pour from that cup, right? That and we got a lot of people who, I don't know what it's like to be a parent, but I get to observe unbiased thousands of parents, right? And so that kind of an advantage.
Must be traumatizing for you, though.
I get a look, right? But I'm like, wow, look at
because you got to see some rough cases. I can imagine if they're coming into your office, like they're coming into you with some serious problems, in their kids' lives.
And I really feel for parents, because it's just there's so much going on, and it's the toughest, most important job in the world, So, all right, then let's look at this. But there's a lot of this going on. It's happening now, even. I'm unhealthy because we had kids. Don't tell them that. My God. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, they're going to feel so bad.
Don't outsource. Don't outsource your health onto your child, or, well, it's because we're married. No, that's unfair to your spouse or your partner. Like, you guys should be like developing this life that expresses so greatly. That's your debt to society. That's your social responsibility, is to be the best self you can be. You want to help other people? Be you. As strong, as expressive, as empowered, as resilient, as nourished, as consistent as you can be. That's going to come. Your kid's going to spawn out of that. And that's a scary reality, but you can start that right now. If we just acknowledge that's a good place to kind of look at.
Absolutely. Incredible. I've been waiting for us to bring someone on to talk about, child development, and I honestly would have never thought we would have you on the podcast, and I couldn't imagine anyone better to help explain to, current parents, or those who want to become parents, the importance of everything that we've talked about, so that their child can be the best athlete and person, humanly possible. And I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, like, thank you for coming on the podcast and sharing all of your expertise. Again, right, I honestly, and I'm not saying this just to toot your horn, probably nobody on the planet better to talk about the horrors of specialization in children than you.
I'm a big observer. I appreciate that. I appreciate that, and I wish I didn't see a lot of the.
So do I.
Wish I
to
wasn't
be honest,
as aware. You know what I mean? Because I see something like, oh God, damn it, and that just fuels me to do what I do even more. Yeah. Nobody's perfect. There is no perfect way. Even my parents. Like, I don't blame my parents because I'm an adult. I can acknowledge what happened to us. Oh, dude, guys, there are 2 commercials I'm going to release. I didn't do them. We were in them as kids because my dad was a baseball player back in the day. He was on the Yankees. Okay, big deal, right? Well, he was kind of good at one time. Well, good players do commercials. We're in a Mazola corn oil commercial.
Love it. Classic.
My mom's pouring corn oil on a salad, and we're sitting there as kids like, yeah, Mazola corn oil. Like, what the fuck?
That aged well.
Dude, and then the second one was a Tang commercial.
Yeah, I had Tang the other day. I'm not gonna lie. In Puerto Rico, dead ass, I had Tang the other day. Shit. I swear to God,
so literally, I'm not about to look at that. I mean, some people, I'm going to post them and be like, guys, this is just proof that it doesn't matter where you came from. You acknowledge where you are now, and you switch that shit. You change that. I grew up on fucking corn oil and Velveeta. Velveeta was like yellow oil. It was.
I remember.
It wasn't
Velveeta.
like an ounce of cheese. But it doesn't matter. What I'm saying is, it doesn't matter. There's no right or wrong. There's no perfect. Get past that. But they did a good job of empowering me to figure out self. And that's why I think the best thing we can do is try to figure out the best way for your child, your young person going to be like, to figure out who they are, what they are, what they love, and who they're going to be. And that's damn well, because then when they come into their own, they're like, I really love this. I really feel this. I want to be with this. Then they can like constantly evolve and adapt regardless of the mistakes we all make. Because it's not about not making those mistakes, right?
100%. Brother, I got to say, man, so appreciative of you coming on here and sharing everything you shared. And it's just going back to the children, because it is about the children, and the children that we're going to pave the way for the future. And whether it's going to be worse or better, they're going to pave the way regardless. Yeah. And if we could just, with ourselves as a parent, start with us and just input some kind of health, some kind of awareness, some kind of realization of allowing our kids to be them, and pushing that forward into the world, that causes a chain reaction, right? Because they're going to share that with their friends. They're going to share that with their siblings. And then also, too, one day they're going to have kids themselves. And I think it's just amazing, what you're doing, you being able to come out here and put this out into the world. And we appreciate you for that. Before we wrap it up, I want to allow you to have the floor, share with everybody where they can connect with you, find you, and any future projects that you got going on.
So one thing I want to wrap up with, and you brought up a good point, is so for those of you who are listening who are like, wow, this guy sounds pretty smart and he's experienced and he has degrees and
just a little experience, just a little smart, just a little bit, just a little bit. Is it
because of the
not much, but a little bit, just a little?
Is it because of the sexy doctor name, doctor?
Yeah. So those 2 letters I'm about to drop. Actually. I have a video where I'm going to burn my degrees because I didn't learn anything in them. If I could go back, I'm not getting them. They were an absolute waste of my existence.
I say the same thing.
So here's what I want to. But then, how'd you get to where you were? I observed around me. More specifically, I learned more from watching children. So as parents, you can learn from your kids how you should live, because they're more connected to that purity than we are. And if we acknowledge that, and we're not over that, we don't think we're bigger than that, but you sit there and observe it, they're so miraculous. It makes it, you have an expert in the house. It's your kid. It's in-house all the time. Oh my God. And if we just started to look at that, we could then come up with things as adults that we could do that would benefit us in the long haul. So I just wanted to say that, because it's literally, I'll go out right now and you just watch children. You watch them skip, laugh, simple, focus. They're looking at the ladybug on the leaf. Some adults looking at the the sprinklers and how much the sprinkler costs to water that flower bed. And it's like, dude, they're looking at the friggin' ladybug and counting the dots on the ladybug. Like there's lessons in that.
Magical.
And so if we could get back to that, I know that we would be a whole lot better as society.
Well, I know.
So something I'm very proud
today,
of.
I know after today, I'm gonna be. Stella's gonna see me today, and she's gonna.
She's like,
doesn't
Dad,
know
you're
what
being a
she's
freak.
She
You're
doesn't
being
know
a
what's
freak.
coming for her.
Yeah.
Just like,
What are you looking at? Why are you staring at me, Dad?
Dada.
Well, you're like writing stuff down. What are you writing about me? So the biggest thing that came out of 2020 for a group of us is we started a nonprofit called Health Freedom for Humanity. And we're fighting for your health and medical freedoms. And so if you go to healthfreedomforhumanity.org, this is we're dying on this hill. This is a hill we die on. This is much bigger than us. It's not about a personal brand or a title or anything else. There's about 25 of us and we're growing. It's grassroots and it's friggin' growing. So I really want to promote that, push that. And if you follow me through there, you find my Instagrams or anything like that, and you have questions, reach out. I return DMs. Like I might be one of the only ones who like
He does, guys.
I get back to all DMs. Like I really do, because it's like it's people, man. Like it's some of it's hate, some of it's just stuff that's so negative I don't want to expose, but I'll check it. And if it's an honest, sincere, now some people will be like, where's your podcast for? And I'm like, I can't help you. The name of the podcast is the Dr. Tommy John Podcast. Go look for it. Like I'm not gonna find the podcast for you and find the episode. You got to pull your head out of your ass.
Who's that sound like, man? Who does that? It sounds like someone familiar right now. He's like, hey, man, like, who do we have on the podcast today? I'm like, bro, you have the calendar invites as well. Like, you can also, by the time it takes me to look at them, you could have also just looked at them.
It cuts out steps. Now, it's very efficient because it cuts out steps. It's smart because he's saving energy to use later. I get that. But
I know my strengths.
If anybody has any questions, I'll also admit when I don't know something. Like I won't come up with bullshit just to come up with something. Someone will pose a question like, hey, what do you think about, or what do you know? I don't have any idea, but check out this person, this person, this person. Tell me what you find. I'm all about learning. So reach out, because now more than ever, we need to connect, and we might as well use these handheld computers for something positive, right?
Yeah,
and it's through this connection of humanity that's going to help us make these better decisions. These tough decisions be very clear moving forward.
Awesome. We'll make sure to throw the link for the nonprofit in the description and promote it on our channels as well. One last time before we wrap things up, again, thank you so much for coming on here and sharing your knowledge and your expertise. It's been phenomenal. You're an amazing person, and anything we can do in the now or in the future to be able to help you, please let us know.
I appreciate it. We'll do this again, man.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll have to have you down in Miami. Come to the East Coast. Yeah.
And guys,
you guys are in Miami?
Yeah.
You
gotta come down here. There's a big group of us down there. Kelly Brogan and Sarah G and a bunch of other people down there.
Okay, great. Yeah, let us know if you ever come to town. We'll have you in the studio for sure.
Definitely will.
Awesome. Thank you again. Make sure you guys go check out the nonprofit one more time with the name.
Health Freedom for Humanity.
Healthfreedomforhumanity.org. Awesome. Thank you again. Until next time, everybody.
And guys, go let your kids be kids and go experience your own kid that you've been missing for a while.
Big fact.
That's it.
Woo.